Okay, here we are again with a brand spanking new Let's Play of Dragon Age Inquisition. So, just finished the Dragon Age 2 Let's Play, and as you may have seen the video I put up that showed the world state that I put into the Dragon Age Keep. That is the world state that I have loaded up and will be importing into this playthrough of Dragon Age Inquisition. I want to try not to talk too much about the game before diving into it, because I've played a lot of this game. For comparison's sake, I've played probably 200 hours or so, give or take, of Dragon Age Origins. It's hard to say because I had the disc before I switched over to the digital version in Origins, so I don't know exactly, but probably 200 hours, give or take, in Origins. Dragon Age 2, probably 165 hours or so, again, give or take, over several playthroughs. Dragon Age Inquisition, Origin tells me that in the almost 4 years since its release, I've played well over 450 hours of this game. And yeah, that's at least in part because it is by far the biggest and longest Dragon Age game. If you play it as a very completionist playthrough, one playthrough can certainly be upwards of 80 to 100 hours if you do it, if you do everything, or most things. But also, because it just is a really good game. It had very good reviews back in 2014. It won a lot of awards. It won a lot of Game of the Year awards. They put out a Game of the Year edition of it. So, it's a pretty good game. Certainly one of the best BioWare has put out in recent years, and by far the best Dragon Age game, in my opinion. It's not perfect, but I'll get into specifics of what I like and dislike about it once we, actually get through the game. And because I want to sort of not spoil it on the off chance somebody will be watching this Let's Play who has never played this game. Because there are a lot of things. Part of the reason why I like this game is because it does a lot of really new and interesting things with the lore that's already been established, and turns a lot of the assumptions of the Dragon Age universe on their head over the course of the game. So it's very fun to sort of experience that as it happens. And I will, I will do my best not to sort of spoil anything before we get to it. But I will say going in a very general sense, that one of the other things that I really like about this game, and that really sort of speaks to me as a person, I guess, is the emphasis this game places on faith. And especially on the kinds of things people do when they run into things that challenge their faith, that challenge their beliefs, that challenge their worldview. People react to this kind of thing in many different ways, and Dragon Age Inquisition in a lot of ways is an exploration of some of those things. And it actually deals with a lot of surprisingly deep and existential questions. Given that it's a AAA medieval fantasy video game with magic and demons and whatever. It actually deals with some pretty deep and universal and sometimes morally difficult questions. And that is something that I find really cool. That, the BioWare writers really, and And I think most of them would say that this was intentional on their part. You know, they really tried to do that. Almost all of the significant characters in this game have had or are dealing with some kind of crisis of faith in some way or another. And trying to work through some of those issues is actually a big part of what goes on in this game. And a lot of the underlying motivations for what characters do in this game is about that. It's about faith and about your worldview being challenged in various ways. So that's really fun, I think. It adds an extra layer of nuance to the proceedings, in my opinion. And yeah, on top of that, it's just a generally really fun game. So, all that having been said is sort of introductory material. Hopefully everything looks okay. I am running pretty much everything on Ultra, or as high as it will go in general. Most things. A couple things I've tweaked a little bit to make sure that the game performance doesn't suffer too much, but hopefully that should be okay. Gameplay-wise, well, we'll see. I'm actually probably going to play this game on hard, because, as I said, I've played this game for over 450 hours, so it's been a while since I've played. I played some for testing, to test video quality and stuff, and my recording settings and whatnot. So I've refamiliarized myself with the controls to some extent, but otherwise it's been like more than a year since I've seriously sat down and played this game, so I might falter a little bit, but I was playing on hard difficulty with last time I was really playing this game seriously. So I'm going to start on hard. We'll see how we go. If I need to turn it down at some point, I can, but I was not having too much trouble with hard difficulty a year ago or so when I was last playing this game, so... And I'll probably also turn on a couple of trials, because I do like the trials as well. I enjoy those trials. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit. Oh, also before we get started, I am going to be playing this game with 2 mods installed. Just 2. Again, I don't want to do anything that could potentially impact the performance of the game or the quality of my videos very much, because I want to try to maximize that. And so I'm going to be playing the game mostly vanilla, but I do have 2 mods just to make things hopefully a little bit better, both for my ease of use and for potential viewers. The first mod is one that zooms in the conversation camera a little bit closer so that you can see the faces of NPCs a little bit better in the conversation view. Again, this is a purely cosmetic mod, doesn't affect gameplay at all. It's literally just, I think the default camera is just a little bit too far away for me to really like it. So I have a mod that zooms it in a little bit closer. The second mod I have, again, it doesn't affect gameplay at all. It simply should, theoretically, trigger banter more often when running around the world than in the vanilla game. So hopefully we'll get some good party banter going. Supposedly this mod should trigger it about every 15 minutes or so. I haven't tested it thoroughly, but I was getting some party banter when in some of my testing videos. I was getting some party banter, so it does seem to be working, as far as I know, okay. Which is good, because the vanilla game I never seem to get much party banter. So so hopefully the mod will help that out, and we'll get a lot of good party banter going, because the party banter in this game is amazing. The companions are great, and the party banter is amazing. So I want to get lots of that. I will be playing this game pretty thoroughly. Some episodes might be more heavily edited because there is so much geography to cover in this game, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of minutia, like resource gathering and crafting and stuff that probably won't be of interest to viewers, so I'll probably cut some of that out, and I might do some episodes that are more like highlight reels of just me running around some of the regions and, you know, stopping for party banter and occasional, you know, fights or whatever. So this might be a little bit more heavily edited than the other Dragon Age Let's Plays, just for that reason, because this is so much bigger than the other Dragon Age games, and it is so much less linear. It's it's like a semi-open world game. So with that said, okay, so with all that said, so yeah, I'm not modding it otherwise. I have run with other mods in the past, but again, I want to maximize the performance of the game. And make it the best viewing experience for those watching this Let's Play, so I'm not even doing any cosmetic mods. I'm not doing the War Table No Waiting mod or anything like that. We're just running the Conversation Camera mod and the Party Banter mod, and that's it. So, with all that having been said, we're going to go ahead and new game it. Boom. Alright. There's my keep stuff, hopefully. So, we have a return to form with Dragon Age Inquisition, which allows us to play, to choose the race of our characters. And in Inquisition, we can now play as a Kunari, which we never could before. Unfortunately, I'm going to be boring in this playthrough, and I'm going to play as a human female, as I have been in the previous Let's Plays. As I have said before, both at the beginning of my Origins Let's Play and at the beginning of my Dragon Age 2 Let's Play, I'm going to be playing as a human female mage, basically through all three games. Mostly for purposes of just sort of exploring the different ways that you can kind of roleplay as a mage, and the lore regarding magic, and I just really like the mage class. It's my favorite in Dragon Age. I usually default to it anyway, and thus I'm most familiar with the mage class in terms of gameplay. But for role-playing purposes, I also find them the most interesting class to play, just because of how mages are treated in the Dragon Age universe, and the systems by which magic is the world. The people in the world attempt to sort of control and constrain magic and those who use it. So, you know, if I was going for an optimal playthrough, I would probably play as a female elf, because that does get you a little bit more content. But I have done that, and I would rather play this as a human mage for reasons, mostly roleplay reasons. So yeah, I'm not necessarily going for a quote-unquote optimal playthrough. Again, I've played a lot of this game. I have done the optimal playthrough. I'm more interested in this playthrough in sort of the roleplay aspects and the lore aspects and exploring the world. So I'm going to try to make decisions as best I can based on, again, sort of the roleplay aspect of it, and not necessarily based on what I think the optimal outcomes are, or what, you know, the fandom has decided are the optimal outcomes, or whatever. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to roleplay it. And we'll see what we get. And that's going to include even things like war table missions. I'm probably just going to kind of try to roleplay them. For purposes of this playthrough, I'm trying to think of sort of how to do this. And I kind of like the idea, and I'm going to go ahead and play on hard. And I kind of like the idea of playing a mage in this playthrough who's a little bit more politically active and a little bit more politically aware, maybe even a little bit politically ambitious. Because I played in Origins, the character I played in Origins was pretty young and naive, and she kind of blindly accepted the state of the world, at least until she actually got out of the circle and became a Grey Warden. And even then, she was still mostly like, even as her opinions maybe changed, she still wasn't really involved in politics or interested in politics, right? Her job was to save the world from the Blight. And that's what she did. And she did what she had to do that. And then again in Dragon Age 2, the Hawk that I played was again pretty explicitly apolitical, someone who didn't want to get involved in the conflict, in the Mage Templar conflict if she could avoid it at all. She couldn't avoid it, but she, rather detested getting involved in it, and she kind of, poo-pooed it for most of the game and wasn't interested in it. So in this game, I'm kind of interested in playing a human mage who is maybe a little bit more politically adept and politically interested. So the background we get here says, born to the Trevelyan noble family of Ostwick in the Free Marches, you were originally intended for a life of privilege until magical abilities surfaced at a young age and you were forced into a life of confinement within Ostwick's Circle of Magi. Protected but stifled, educated but isolated, the Circle would have been your entire future had the mages not rebelled against Chantry rule. Like it or not, you had to fight for your life against Templars hunting down all free mages. You joined the delegation of mages attending a Chantry conclave in hopes of negotiating peace with the Templars. It didn't go well. So this already gives me something to start with the human mage, right? So she's born to a noble family, and she hasn't completely cut ties with them either. She was born in Ostwick, and she resided within Ostwick's Circle of Magi, so she wasn't separated from her family necessarily, or at least not as extremely as, say, Amel was in Dragon Age Origins. So she was born to a life of privilege and a life of potentially politics, right? And then she became a member of the Circle in Ostwick. And she joined a delegation of mages attending the Chantry conclave, right? So she joined a delegation of mages who were going to this conclave with the explicit purpose of trying to broker peace between the mages and Templars, right? To try and find some kind of compromise to try and stop this war. So already we start with a character who is potentially actively trying to stop this conflict, right? She's actively trying to keep more people from dying. So that I think is a really good place a really interesting place to start, and it potentially is a very different place to start from than either of the previous two games, right? So that's really cool. I also want to note that if you play as a non-mage human, you are also a Trevelyan, so you're from the same family, and that sort of little backstory blurb even tells you that the Trevelyan's have really strong Chantry ties, that there's a lot of clerics and a lot of Templars in the Trevelyan family, right? So they send a lot of their younger children to the Chantry for various purposes, and the Trevelyan's are known as a relatively pious family. Which to me says that, this mage, this Trevelyan, this particular Trevelyan probably has a lot of relatives who are Templars, who are clerics, who are priests. And that even adds another layer of interest to it in the sense that, she could be thinking, well, even if she doesn't like Templars as an institution, she still doesn't necessarily want to be on opposite sides of a war with people who, she's potentially related to. She could have cousins who are Templars. And she has, she was raised in the Chantry, so she probably is at least nominally Andrastian, nominally religious. She's probably not an atheist or wouldn't consider herself an atheist. So I think this is a really interesting way to start the game. So we'll go ahead and do this, and yes, I'm going to import a world state from the keep. That was successful, which is awesome. So hopefully we'll get my choices imported. Wow, spoiler game. Spoiler. Also, the only problem with this, the way I'm running this game right now, is that some of my loading screens are really long. But fortunately, that's what post-production is for. That's what editing is for. So I will have to sit through these loading screens, but I will try not to make you sit through all of them. Okay, so here we have character customization, and I am probably going to make a cut about here, just because the character customization process can be a long and involved one and probably not terribly interesting. So I'll probably get back to you once I actually have a face that I like. So yeah. Okay, I think I almost have her. I'm gonna maybe turn down the intensity on that scar just a little bit.
You leave me no choice.
And I'm gonna go ahead. I'm a sucker for freckles, so I pretty much always have to give my pro tags in this game the freckled complexion because I love it. It's like I can't imagine giving them another complexion. It's so good. I like the bun because I feel like, you know, as a mage and a noble, she probably would keep her hair long, traditionally, you know, at least before the rebellion. But of course, since the rebellion broke out, she's had to be more practical and keep it back up out of her face, so she probably keeps it in a bun. And yeah, she probably picked up a scar, maybe, in the original outbreak of the rebellion. I like giving people scars. I think she's super cute. Hopefully the makeup isn't too intense. I kind of like the smoky eye thing. I kind of like, I'm a sucker for smoky eyes, so I tend to give my characters pretty smoky eyes. I might turn down the intensity a little bit on it. And let's see, what was it? Just so that it's not too crazy. But I do sort of like the smoky-eyed look a little bit, so that's good. And I don't like, I like, it would be super easy. I don't really like the look of the super light hair colors in this game. And I feel like red is a little bit stereotypical, the red-headed protagonist, you know, whatever. So I just sort of give her this kind of mousy brown hair color. Look, she's nobody special, right? She's nobody special. And of course her voice,
I just hope I can help.
Going with the excellent Alex Wilton Regan, there's also an American voice, so there's 2 voice actors for each male and female protagonist, right? An American and a British accent for each, for male and for female. Alex Wilton Regan is the British, quote-unquote British accented female voice actor, and she's quite excellent, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. So yeah, I think we're going to go with this. Let's do it. And, oh yeah, for names. I do have a name in mind, actually. I'm the kind of person that I generally don't do, like, super symbolically important or significant names for most of my characters most of the time. I tend to either just go with a pretty standard set of names that I already sort of have in my head, you know, just pop one up. Or sometimes I'll try a naming convention of some sort. Like I know, so in this Let's Play series, my Origins character was named Ariadne after my cat, and then in Dragon Age 2 I named that character Minerva, just to continue with the sort of the Greek ladies, ancient Greek ladies sort of trend. But in this game I'm actually going to give her a specific name. Her name is going to be Nadia, because basically, my second playthrough of this game, was my standard female human mage playthrough, and I named her Nadia, and it was just the first name that popped into my head. It wasn't until after I'd completed that playthrough that I went looking for more names, and for characters. And I just happened to look up some name meanings, because I thought, well, maybe I could give, you know, my next Dragon Age Inquisition character a symbolically significant name or something. And it comes to turn out Nadia is actually is actually derived from a Russian name that means hope, basically. So I might as well be calling this character Hope, which I find really symbolically significant. Like, I think it's potentially really cool to name a character like that. I could not have planned it better if I'd tried, honestly. I was really pleased with myself when I discovered this, that this name essentially means hope. So that's what I'm going to call this character. I've changed the spelling a little bit so that I don't mix it up with my original Nadia. But that's what we're going to go with, Nadia Trevelyan. So let's go ahead and start this. Cute as a button. Oh my. This seems a rather dire predicament.
Tell me why we shouldn't kill you now. The
Um,
Conclave is destroyed. Everyone who attended is dead. Except for you.
Okay, so, yeah, this is the first dialogue wheel of the game. We do have a dialogue wheel, as in Dragon Age 2, though it does not necessarily correspond in the same way to, like, diplomatic, sarcastic, and aggressive responses, the way that it did in Dragon Age 2 pretty regularly. Sometimes it does, but certainly not always, not by any means. So, in this game, you kind of have a lot more freedom to just sort of pick whichever one of these responses you think works best in any given situation, and not necessarily feeling like you have to stick to a particular personality or tone. So, yeah, you think I did it, huh? The Conclave is destroyed, everyone is dead except for me, and you think I did it.
You think I'm responsible? Explain this. I can't. What do you mean you can't?
I don't know what that is, or how it got there.
You're lying!
We need her, Cassandra.
So this is the other kind of dialogue wheel that you'll get sometimes, which gives you these responses are emotion based, right? And will give a particular kind of tone to them. You'll have some different options depending on which kind of dialogue wheel you'll have. These are not the only options you'll be able to get at any given point, but these are some of the more common ones, right? So this is the sort of sadness one. This is a more aggressive, straightforward one. This is a stoic, I'm pretty sure is what they call it. And this is just sort of like, I'm confused, I'm looking for more information. And you can just kind of tell based on what the icon is, what kind of tone it's going to have. So I think she's going to be pretty sad about this. I think she's a pretty compassionate person, and the idea of all those people dying at the Conclave, including all of the people that she went to the Conclave with, right? She was there with a delegation of people that she probably knew. So they're all dead now. That's very sad.
I can't believe it. All those people. Dead.
Do you remember what happened? How this began?
I remember... running. Things were chasing me, and then... a woman?
A woman?
She reached out to me, but then...
Go to the forward camp, Liliana. I will take her to the rift.
Rift. That's quite a word.
What did happen?
It will be easier to show you.
So that's obviously Cassandra and Liliana, right? So Cassandra from Dragon Age 2 and Liliana from Origins, which is cool to have some returning characters. Some of them get some pretty good makeovers in this game, actually. For the most part, I really like the look of all the characters in this game. That's pretty horrific.
We call it the Breach. It's a massive rift into the world of demons that grows larger with each passing hour. It's not the only such rift, just the largest. All were caused by the explosion at the Conclave.
An explosion can do that?
This one did.
Yikes.
Unless we act, the Breach may grow until it swallows the world.
Well...
Each time the Breach expands, your mark spreads, and it is killing you. It may be the key to stopping this, but there isn't much time.
Okay, so, you still think I'm guilty?
You still think I did this? To myself?
Not intentionally. Something clearly went wrong.
And if I'm not responsible?
Someone is, and you are our only suspect. You wish to prove your innocence? This is the only way.
So how do you think the thing on my hand could stop this?
You say it may be the key. To doing what?
Closing the Breach. Whether that's possible is something we shall discover shortly. It is our only chance, however. And yours.
Well, I mean, I think, she came to the Conclave with the intention of wanting to help, wanting to end the conflict, wanting to help people. Again, I feel like, Minerva Hawk would probably have said something like this, how to say, she'd be looking to save her own skin at this point. But I feel like Nadia Trevelyan is probably a little more altruistic than that. So, I think she's probably gonna go with, if I can help, I will.
I understand.
Then...
I'll do what I can. Whatever it takes.
Like, that's what she's here for, she was here to help in the first place, so why would she not want to help with this, too? Even if they do think she is somehow responsible for it.
They have decided your guilt. They need it. The people of Haven mourn our most holy, divine Justinia, head of the Chantry. The Conclave was hers. It was a chance for peace between mages and Templars. She brought their leaders together.
Yeah.
Now they are dead.
I mean, I feel like...
We lash out like the sky, but we must think beyond ourselves, as she did. Until the breach is sealed.
Well,
There will be a trial. I can promise no more.
Well, that's something.
Come. It is not far.
Where are you taking me?
Your mark must be tested on something smaller than the breach.
Indeed. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, you know, Nadia is probably used to people being, kind of suspicious of her anyway, to some extent, so this is probably not shocking to her that this would happen, and, I mean, you know, the fact that it happened is shocking, but the fact that people are thinking it was her who did it is maybe not ridiculously shocking to her, given that she is a mage in a world where magic is feared and mages are often demonized and villainized. You know, that's kind of par for the course as far as she's concerned. So let's see what we got here. So this is this thing that I'm doing constantly is the search function. Which is something that I do pretty constantly as I'm moving around, because I'm a little bit compulsive like that. But yeah, I can access the quest map pressing M. Here's the icon to show us our currently active quest objective. Yeah, you know, I feel like this does seem a little bit like it could be the end of the world. Like, I can't argue with that. That seems about right. Yeah, that's pretty terrible. I'm gonna save. Oh God. Well, that's terrible. As if it couldn't get more terrible.
Are coming faster now.
Yikes. So basically I'm dying faster is what you're saying.
The breach grows, the more rifts appear, the more demons we face.
Uh-huh.
How did I survive the blast?
They said you stepped out of a rift, then fell unconscious. They say a woman was in the rift behind.
Like I was in the Fade?
No one knows who she was. Everything farther in the valley was laid waste, including the Temple of Sacred Ashes. I suppose you'll see soon enough. Oh, wow. Yeah, so this is at the Temple of Sacred Ashes, which, of course, we visited the first time in Origins as Ariadne ML, so obviously it looks a little different in this game. Inquisition was the first BioWare game to utilize the Frostbite engine, which I believe all EA published games, like from Inquisition on, are sort of required to use the Frostbite engine. It's certainly a very pretty game. Like, the environments are really, really nice. You know, I'm not really an expert on engines, but whoa, that's Stay behind me.
Demons, of course. It's always demons. I have a concern about the stay behind me thing. Let's, right, so... I'm gonna have Cassandra attack my target. I'm on hard difficulty, which is kind of annoying in the first couple of fights in the prologue because I can't actually take control of Cassandra. So I have to sort of try to let the AI do its thing, and that's kind of, like, I don't trust the AI very well. In order to really be really successful at hard difficulty, you have to be willing to micromanage a little bit. So I'm not terribly excited about this. But let's see if Cassandra can build up a little aggro on our lesser shade here, so that I don't have to take the hits. There we go. Okay.
It's over.
Drop your weapon. Now!
Well, I mean, you know I don't need a staff, right? I don't need a staff to cast. But, yeah, you really need to trust me. You normally take this, but, I think her response would probably be more like this.
If you're going to lead me through a demon-infested valley, you'll have to trust me.
Give me one reason to trust you.
Because my life is on the line.
You're right. You don't need a staff, but you should have one. I cannot protect you. I should remember you agreed to come willingly.
I sure did. So let's continue.
Take these potions.
Thank you.
Maker knows what we will face.
I don't need one though. That's fine.
Where are all your soldiers?
At the forward camp or fighting. We are on our own for now.
Okay. So here's some loot up here. Let's see what we got. Templar Scribe Cowl. Alright. Let's open up our inventory and let's equip that. Alright. Looks good. It doesn't look... I have helmets turned off. Which I kind of wish... Admittedly, I kind of wish that you could turn helmets on or off for specific characters as opposed to just doing it on, for the whole... for everybody. Because there are a couple of characters who have pretty distinctive headwear that I think would be fun to be able to see sometimes, but I don't want this to be on my head because that's just silly looking. But there's a couple of characters we'll meet later who kind of have pretty distinctive headwear that would be fun to have, but that's all right. I'll leave it. I think I'll leave it here for a first episode. I think this is probably a decent enough place to end the episode before we get going too long. And we'll pick it up next time. As always, if you like what you see, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. Later.